Welcome back. Welcome back to Learn for Free. Learning React on Scrimba with me, Johnny A. Changes. What changes can you see since the last video? Number one, that. Number two, that. And number three, this. I've had a sharp haircut. Good day. Right, a couple of days since the last stream. So let's get cracking. Video 19, set up a local React environment with Create React app. Nice little succinct title that just rolls off the tongue. So without further ado, let's get cracking. I may just have to pause it quickly halfway through because I've just run a bath after a heavy day's gardening and a bit of a workout. So I'm a bit sweaty. You see, I've got a very shiny head, haven't I? Since I had my haircut. Less and less hair on there every time. I'll start earning more money with a better React job. Might get a hair transplant. Yeah, Discord going off. Go. Get rid of that.
Sort of the quick and easy way to get a local version of React up and running using some CDN links and an in-browser Babel transpiler to get everything working. You see, since React uses a syntax that isn't normally understood by the browser, there needs to be some kind of tool to translate this weird-looking JavaScript like JSX into something that the browser can actually make sense of, like regular old JavaScript. However, that in-browser Babel transpiler that we were using is not really a good long-term solution, which is why we saw that warning that says, well, basically you should do this in a different way if you're going to be pushing it up to production. So instead, what you normally need to do is set up a whole bundler system using something like Webpack. I've linked to the Webpack homepage if you want to go visit it there. And you would teach your Webpack configuration how to use Babel, the transpiler or compiler, so that essentially it would take your React code and transpile it or compile it down to something that is readable by browsers with regular JavaScript. Just to be totally clear, Babel and Webpack are not specific to React, but in order for React to work on most web browsers, you would normally have to use Babel and Webpack to translate it into something that a browser would make sense of. And the truth is, unless you've already dealt with Webpack a bunch before, it's honestly a bit of a high bar for beginners to clear when they're just learning web development. So to help significantly reduce that overhead in getting started with React, the React team created a package called Create React App, which does all of the heavy lifting for you, and it even hides a bunch of that implementation detail of Webpack from you in the code. So in the end, it really just makes setting up a new React app on your local machine really simple. So let's take a look at the process of using Create React App to create a new React app on your local machine. Before you can jump into Create React App, you have to make sure that you have Node.js and NPM installed on your machine. To see if you have these installed, you can open up your terminal and type node -v. That's a flag to check the version of Node. If it spits out any number, that means that you do have Node installed. And if you do have Node installed, then you also more than likely have NPM installed as well. But for good measure, you might as well run npm -v. And again, if it displays a version number, that means you do have NPM installed. Now, the next few slides are going to give a very high-level overview of how to install Node in NPM. So if you already have Node in NPM, you can sort of tune out the next couple minutes or skip ahead. And honestly, there's a lot of help already out there on how to install Node.js. I would just recommend going to YouTube and searching install Node.js, but specifically install Node.js with something called NVM. So I would recommend using NVM, which is the Node version manager. Its purpose is just to make switching and installing different Node versions extraordinarily easy, but it does mean that you have to install another package. If you're on a Mac or Linux machine, you can use NVM. I've included a link to their GitHub repository here. Or if you're on Windows, you can click here to go to a package called nvm-windows. But again, I would just default to following some kind of install Node.js with NVM tutorial that you find on YouTube. Okay, so now you have NVM installed. The next step.
Oh, whoa. Hold your horses, Bob. How do you know if you've got NVM installed? I've got NPM. I've got Node. I'm going to have to Google it. Tell if Tell if a girl liked you. That was the post. A few million quid in your bank, that might help. Usually does. And so if NVM is installed. Right. Mac. NVM, open the command prompt and type NVM. Right, okay. NVM. Oh, got it. Right, how to install Node VM then? To install. Oh, not Homebrew. NVM Node Version Manager is a shell script for installing and managing Node.js on a Linux-based system. The macOS users can install NVM using the Homebrew. Okay. This tutorial helps you install NVM on your operating system. Maybe I should give everyone this screen so they can see the process. You can get bored along with me. Right, I've got Node and I've got NPM, but I haven't got Node Version Manager. Let's have a look at that. You must have macOS desktop with admin privileges. Log into the using Homebrew. How do you do that? Oh, what a ball ache. Not an easier way. If Node already installed. I'll schooled it. Question one, is it already installed Mac? Installed now. Yes, question two, if it does not work. Question one, can I install NVM if Node.js is already installed? Installed Node, right? Yes, you can, but there is no need to leverage NVM to install a divide specific Node version. There is no need to, this guy says. But not very many upvotes, which is usually not a very good sign. How to install NVM on macOS with Homebrew. Step one, remove the existing Node versions. If your system has Node installs, uninstall it. Okay. Just going to stop the bath running. In a minute. Log into. Looks like I'm going to have to do it, innit? Oh, God. Just turn in reader view on, get all that crap off. The Node version for installing managing Node.js. Okay. So I've got that. Log into the macOS and install Homebrew. Oh, bollocks to this. What did Bob say? Go to one of these installs. So there's actually a video how to install and use Node Version Manager. How to install and use NVM Dev Cafe. That was the one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Just a quick video today to show you how to install and run multiple versions of Node on your machine. When I first started working with Node, I would just install it directly from the Node.js website by using their recommended installer. So I would just click here, and it would download the installer for my operating system, and then I would run the installer and get the latest version of Node and NPM installed on my machine and start my new project. But because Node evolves so quickly, and it feels like there's a new upgrade almost like every other month, or there's a new version of Node almost every other month, by the time I was ready to start my new project, I would have to then update to the latest version of Node so that I could get the latest and greatest features in my new project. And then as I was working on my new project, about halfway through, I would decide to revisit my old project, and I would go into my old project, run npm start, and I would just be greeted by a whole bunch of red error messages about all kinds of npm package incompatibilities, et cetera, et cetera. And this is super frustrating because I knew that my project ran on Node and things were working just fine. And all of a sudden, I've got all of these errors that I have to take care of. Enter Node Version Manager, or NVM for short. What Node Version Manager allows you to do is to install and manage multiple versions of Node on your machine so that you can quickly switch back and forth between them based on your project requirements. So what we're going to do first is install NVM, and then once NVM is installed, we will install multiple versions of Node onto NVM, and I'll show you how you can switch back and forth between them and do some other things. Go to Google here and just type in Node Version Manager. And this is running a little slow for me because I am on a virtual machine so that I could get a clean install of macOS. All right. And we're going to click on this first result here. That just takes us to the NVM GitHub page or repo. So we're going to click on installing and updating. And so to install or update NVM, you should run the install script. To do that, you may either download the run script manually or use the following curl or wget command. So I'm just going to grab this curl command, whole thing here. I'm going to open my terminal, directly from the Node.js website.
Shit. Well, at least he's actually explained it, why you need this Node Version Manager, this geezer. I don't think Bob did very well. I have come across that problem. I used to run my old website on Jekyll, and it worked fine. And then I think I updated Node. And I checked about another year's, not touched it in about a year. I checked it again, and everything broke just like that. So I wonder if this is to do with it. So yeah, so what I was going to say is I'm just going to follow along with what he's doing. To install or update NVM, you should run the install script. To do that, you can either download and run the script manually or use the following curl command. Right, how's he found that? I'm on GitHub now. Right. To install, you should run the install script. To do that, you might either download the script or use the custom curl or wget commands. Right. Copy. So I guess you're opening that in terminal. You can't see it, but I'm just copying and pasting that command there. Don't fuck my machine up. Right, that's installing. Okay. Close and reopen your terminal to start using NVM or run the following to use it. I'll just close it. Terminal. Boom, it's worked. Thank God, I didn't go down that homebrew route. Let's just watch the rest of this.
Whole thing here. I'm going to open my terminal. And let me make this a little bit bigger so that you folks on mobile screens can see well. All right, so I'm going to paste that curl command in here. Now, the only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to change this from bash to zsh. And the reason being is macOS, I think after Catalina, they switched the command line shell over from bash to zsh. And also keep in mind, I am on macOS, and the Windows instructions, I believe, are very similar. So if you are using Windows, you should be able to just go through this process in a very similar way.
Oh, I wish I watched that. GitHub. No, it's bash. I'll just see if it'll work.
All right, and that's it. It's now installed. So what this did is, as you see here, it wrote a little entry into my zsh.rc file. And so if I go and peek into it.
In fact, shall I run it for zsh? Because I'm pretty sure that's the shell I'm running. Same. ZSH. That's on as well. No, it isn't. Yes, it is.
I could see the zsh article entry into my zsh.rc file. And so if I go and peek into it, I could see that I've got some stuff written in here. And this is just a quick, I think, bash script just to install NPM globally so that I could use it as a command. So what I'll need to do then is close my terminal and then start over so that all the changes can take effect. All right, so now if I type in NPM, you can see that I've got NPM gives me a whole bunch of help instructions here so that I can get started. So I'm going to just run you through a few commands. So the first thing I'll do is I will install the latest version of Node. So it's pretty simple. All you have to do is just run npm install Node. And if I just put in Node, it'll just install the latest and greatest version of Node. So I think that would be version 15 as of this recording. That was a pretty quick install. So now I can go to Node version. And you can see I have the latest version of Node, 15.1.0.
I'm just going along with him now. Mine's just installing. NPM install Node. I might actually, it's pretty handy, this video. I'm going to put that in my notes. Copy NVM install vid. Spreadsheet. Right, I've got version 18 of Node. Happy days. Pretty good. Just do Node V. Yep, version 18. Okay.
0.0 installed, and then I can also type in npm version, and that gives me the latest version of npm. Now, the other thing,
I'll try that as well then. 8.8. It's obviously been updated since this video. Oops, muted.
of Node that I have installed. It lists a whole bunch of other stuff here, which honestly I don't know versions of Node that I have installed. It lists a whole bunch of other stuff, say nvm ls, and this will list all of the versions of Node that I have installed. It lists a whole bunch of other stuff here, which honestly I don't know what any of this is, but what we really care about is this thing right here, and this is like this little arrow shows that that is my current version that is activated. Now I could actually point to a specific version of Node, so because I ran nvm install Node, it just downloaded the latest version, but I could type in nvm install, and then I can actually point to a specific version. So let's say I want to install 10.13. So now it's downloading version 10.13. There we go. And if I do nvm ls again, I could see that I have both 10.13 and 15. And as you see, it automatically switched me to the latest version that I installed. So I would, if I wanted to switch back to 15, I could just type in nvm use 15.1.0.
Hang on a minute. How did you get that list up? I've just installed 10.13 as well. What's he done again?
ls again.
NVM ls. Oh yeah, getting the same. Might be handy to get a cheat sheet of all these NVM commands. Pop another note. Get NVM commands sheet. Right, 1013. I can see that. How does he switch?
I could see that I have both 10.13 and 15. And as you see, it automatically switched me to the latest version that I installed. So I would, if I wanted to switch back to 15, I could just type in nvm use 15.1.0, and that will switch me back to 15. So if I just type in node version, I am back in 15. I can also, so I was typing in node version, but I could also just type in nvm current, and that will give me my current version. And the last thing I'll show you is how to uninstall a version of Node. So as you probably guessed, the command would be nvm uninstall, and then I could uninstall. Well, first let me check which versions I have because I forgot already. So let's say I want to uninstall 10.13. So I would type in nvm uninstall version, or actually I would just type in 10.13 0, hit uninstall, and it's going to go through and uninstall that version. And so now if I clear, gosh, I will just type in nvm ls. And as you can see, I'm now back on 15.1, and 10.13 is completely removed from my system. There's one thing to keep in mind, and that is if you switch between different versions of Node, any global NPM packages that you have installed will not come along because these are completely independent installations of Node. Basically, if you have a package that, like a global NPM package that you installed on one version and you're already using it, you'll have to install the same package on another version. So let me just give you an example here. Let me install 10.13 again. So I'll type in nvm install 10.13.
Don't know what he's on about here, so I'll sack that off. Bye. Thanks for the help. Okay, let's get the video back on. Share video, Chrome tab. Right, back with Bob. So we've got Node, we've got Node Version Manager, we've got NPM, which is Node Package Manager.
Step is to open your terminal again, and this time type nvm space install space --lts. Now, this command is specific to the NVM for the Mac or Linux. I think it might be slightly different for NVM-Windows. I think that might just be NVM install LTS with no --, but you'll have to check the documentation and follow the instructions in that YouTube video to be
I guess I don't have to do this because I've done it.
sure. Then once that finishes installing, we come full circle, and you should be able to double check your Node version and your NPM version the same way we saw before. And again, by the time you're watching this, it very well may not be these versions. It might be a newer version than this. Now with Node and NPM installed, we're ready to actually use Create React App. On the Create React App website, you can see this Getting Started section. The main thing we care about are these commands down here. Just to make things even more confusing, there's another thing called npx. We won't really get into what npx is, but for now, it's enough to know that you can just type this top command, npx create react app, space, and then the name of whatever you want the folder that holds your app to be. After typing that first line, you can hit return, and you'll see an output in your terminal that's more or less similar to this. You can see at the very bottom, it says we suggest that you begin by changing into your directory that you just created. If you didn't choose my-app as your folder name, then obviously choose whatever your folder name is. And once you're in that directory, you can run npm start. So you can see on my machine, I did that. I went cd into my app, and then I ran npm start. Sometimes this command can take a little bit of time to get everything up and running, but once you do, you should.
Hang on a minute. Does he want us to do these or not? Does he want us to type that other command? Does he want to do this or not? I don't know.
Name of whatever you want the folder that holds your app to be. After typing that first line, you can hit return and you'll see an output npx create react.
He doesn't actually say type this. Sure, he doesn't.
Not be these versions, it might be a newer version than this. Now with Node and NPM installed, we're ready to actually use Create React App. On the Create React App website, you can see this Getting Started section. The main thing we care about are these commands down here. Just to make things even more confusing, there's another thing called npx. We won't really get into what npx is, but for now, it's enough to know that you can just type this top command, npx create react app, space, and then the name of whatever you want the folder that holds your app to be. After typing that first line, you can hit return and you'll see an output in your.
Doesn't specifically say type it, does he? It's just inferred. Right, well, I'm in my terminal now, and I don't know where to put this website. I'm going to keep stuff in folder. In there. Shame you can't see me doing this. But 2 cams set up on StreamYard. It's too expensive. Right, so I'm in my GitHub folder where I normally put all my projects. Great. I'm going to go to the Create React App website to get these commands. Right, it's there. Right, I can see those MPX things he was on about. Okay. I'm not going to call it my app. Doesn't mean anything. First React app, I'm going to call it. I'm a rebel and I play by my own rules. I need to install the following packages. Create React app, yes. So it might help if you could run terminal in a Chrome tab. You could see what I was doing then. I can actually share the Chrome tab. I mean, stopping the screen though. Right, this is all just running now. It's taking ages. While it's running, let's see if we can get it working. So you can see it. Share. So I've got to stop the screen. There you go. Should we just talk amongst ourselves while this is running? Create React App is a comfortable environment for learning React and is the best way to start building a new single page application in React. Sets up your development environment so you can use the latest JavaScript features, provides a nice, clear developer experience and optimizes your app for production. You'll need to use Node 14 and NPM 5.6 on your machine. To create and run a project, type that. What I've done. Okay, that's worked. Now you've got to type cd to folder that you've just created or your app. So it's the first React app, and there you go. Type npm start. In now. Terminal wants to access control of Google Chrome, allowing will provide access to documents and data from Google Chrome. Whatever. What's it doing? Oh, that's what it's doing. I think you can see this. Where's StreamYard gone? There it is. Oh, I've got too many windows. Got Figma open from a previous bit of work I was doing. Go. Shit, I've got my mum's for tea soon. Better wrap this up. Right, it's worked basically. So what's happened is Show it. Oh, I've got too many note to self, close all Google Chrome tabs and windows before doing a stream or a video. Get rid of that. Let's get back to Bob, shall we? Keep it simple. Yeah, so basically I'm at that stage now.
In your terminal, that's more or less similar to this. You can see at the very bottom, it says we suggest that you begin by changing into your directory that you just created. If you didn't choose my-app as your folder name, then obviously choose whatever your folder name is. And once you're in that directory, you can run npm start. So you can see on my machine, I did that. I went cd into my app and then I ran npm start. Sometimes this command can take a little bit of time to get everything up and running, but once you do, you should see something that looks like this in your terminal. If you remember back when I showed you how to run React locally, just using those CDNs and the VS Code extension called Live Server, well, now we're essentially replacing that. You won't need to click anything in your VS Code using Live Server, but instead you're running your development environment through the terminal. In fact, after you run this command and it says compiled successfully, it will probably open a browser window for you and direct you to localhost :3000 automatically. And when that opens, you'll probably see the default Create React App screen, which looks something like this. So where exactly does this screen come from with the React logo? Well, this is a boilerplate version of the Create React App code that is automatically built in this new React app that has been spun up for you. If you really just want to start from scratch, what I recommend doing is just taking all of the files in the source folder. You can see I've highlighted them all here in my VS Code and just deleting them. And then you can just start from scratch the same way we have been so far by creating an index.js file and writing the code that we're used to writing. One thing to note here is that you don't need to create your own index.html. That is being handled inside of this public folder. And of course, I recommend poking around the code just to better understand exactly what's going on. But you'll see that inside that public folder, there's an index.html file that has a div with the ID of root in it. So inside the new index.js file that you create, you can already select that element by the ID of root when you're using React DOM.render. And it's a bit small in this screenshot, but you can see that it's rendering an H1 that just says, hello, create React app. And in the browser that popped up automatically on localhost 3000, it updated automatically for me. Now, usually any changes that you make to your code when you hit save, it will automatically refresh your browser. Every now and then, I've found that that becomes a little disconnected and you just have to go to your browser and hit refresh. But either way, it should update your browser to reflect what you have written in the code. And that's it. You're all set. Now, as we continue to go through this course here on Scrimba, I still highly recommend that you do the challenges I give you right here inside of the Scrimba environment. One of the huge benefits of Scrimba is that the environment is already interactive and it's already set up for you. And so the barrier to getting your hands on the keyboard, typing the code, practicing React is very low. So although you now know how to set up a local environment, please don't feel like you need to do that every time you're going to do one of the challenges that I give you, because honestly, in this course, we're not practicing how to set up React apps. We're practicing how to write React and build cool applications with React. But now you have the knowledge you need if you feel like jumping away from what we're doing in the course and just practicing your own thing and being creative, being curious, and building whatever you want to build without necessarily having to deal with the Scrimba environment. And then, of course, when the time comes to deploy your projects to a real website, well, you're going to have something local on your machine that you can push up to GitHub and to whatever host you're pushing it to. Okay, sorry that was such a long aside. Let's jump right back into the course and continue to learn.
Okay. Got there in the end. So I now have an environment running, and I may just start doing some of the challenges actually within the browser. So I'm going to open VS Code now and delete those files like he said, but I won't stream that anyway. But anyway, good to know. So you need Node, you need NPM, you don't need NVM, Node Version Manager, but it's very handy to have, and I can see the benefits of that already. Bit of a takeaway: go and learn some NVM commands, and start playing around with that React app I now have running successfully on my local build. And it is now time to go to my mum's for tea. She just texted me, "That's okay, let me know when you're on your way." It'll be about 6 o'clock, Mum. See you on the next vid, which will be styles and images with CRA. So I'm guessing CRA means create React app. Adios.